Welcome back to I Think Everybody. This is the 16th episode we're on now. I have a fantastic guest here, Lava.
What's up?
Yeah, Lava is calling in currently. Lava, you've been making a lot of headlines recently. Your stories of hiking and the various adventures in Latin America have gone pretty viral. Talk to me about what that's been like. How have you been reacting to that buzz and, everything going on online?
Thank you, Ben, for having me on the podcast.
Of course.
It's an awesome opportunity for me. And second of all, the hiking, the getting lost in Peru. It was a transformative experience for me.
Yeah,
First,
of course.
it taught me that I can do anything I set my mind to. Whatever I believe I can accomplish, I can accomplish.
Nice.
That was the main lesson I learned from these adventures.
Yeah.
But if you want to hear more about the adventures themselves, one, there's so many. I don't know where to start. Well, one, to begin with, there was a volcano. We hiked up a volcano. I'm pretty sure Aiden already told you that.
Yeah,
That was very good. That was a great one. So we did that one. There's another one we did. It's called the Salcante Trek.
Yeah.
The first 2 days I had no food or water for that trek.
Wow, that's crazy.
I know, it was insane.
You guys were just doing it alone or with a group?
Completely alone. This is me.
Yeah, I did it with a little group. What was that like? So you went on this 5-day trek up in the mountains in Peru, just completely alone. You had a map, I'm assuming, of some kind.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. We used Aiden's phone and he had a map downloaded, but still.
But still, that's ridiculous. I can't imagine what that would be like. I've always been scared to go camping alone because it's like, I don't know, I did it when I was a kid a lot, but I feel uneasy about doing it now. And yeah, that's crazy. So you went on this trek 5 days, you didn't have food or water the first 2 days. What happened? Was that intentional? How did that happen?
So what happened was, I got food poisoning and I couldn't eat food or drink water. Because any water or food I ate, I would throw it up. And that resulted in all these issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the main problem why I couldn't eat food.
Yeah.
Or drink water. And that was for the first 2 days. But after that, I slowly began to recover. And that was helpful. But still, the first 2 days, they were just so brutal. We hiked up 2,000 feet with no food or water. And if you ask Ian, he himself can attest to this. Oh, my bad, but...
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, he himself can attest to this. But after we did that, we also had an interesting encounter with a person named Waldo. I'm not sure if he's told the story yet. Has he?
No, he didn't.
So this person named Waldo, so he was a very interesting guy. He had a very interesting vibe. We felt Aiden himself felt specifically threatened by him. He felt really this is not a good guy. He has a very negative energy. Afterwards, he invited us back to his house, and we went back to his hotel. And then he was massaging Aiden. He took Aiden up to the room. Yeah. He was just a weird guy. Luckily I came in time. But regardless, he was just in the dangers like that you want to avoid.
Yeah, and I laugh about it, but really
it is funny. It is a funny story, but for future travelers.
Yeah. And I laugh also as an instinctual, sort of an uncomfortable laugh. But regardless, for any young travelers or of any age really who are out there solo traveling or even with a group, you really have to be careful and, just always be cognizant, because when you're going to another place, you're sort of submitting to their culture, and some places have different kinds of cultures, and you have to be aware of that and just don't try to you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I do. I understand what you're saying.
And I really do love that, Lava, and fantastic. I wanted to ask you a few different questions. There's this idea that I was speaking with AI, and it told me its opinion. So it says that it believes that the sort of prankster culture, that's typically associated with our generation, that has been sort of due to the fact that we're reacting to a world which we believe to be too serious, taking itself too seriously. Do you agree with that idea?
I mean, I think it depends. I mean, I think most people live their life as if not much has changed. The average person I talk to on the street doesn't seem to be affected too much by what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah. What's your opinion on all of the events we've been seeing lately? You know, just yesterday.
Yeah, with Iran being bombed.
Yeah, there appeared to have been some sort of militaristic action involving Iran. What's your opinion on that? Why do you think the Middle East doesn't like the U.S.? It had been my impression that certain areas of the Middle East do like the U.S.
Maybe few and far in between. Overall, the Middle East in general does not seem to have a great relationship with America. I mean, in the early 2000s, America came in right after 9/11, and it's like it just fucked up in taxations with lies. I mean,
guess
lies.
You're right, and what I would say is, you know, a few places in the Middle East. I guess you're right that it's very torn because certain countries such as Qatar and Emirates and you know, a few others, they are sort of very much interested in expanding their economies and participating in business with the U.S. And then you also have several countries in that region which are definitely upset with us. And so I think it's obviously very complicated, but that thing you just brought up about how we went into Iraq, you know, early 2000s, talk to me about that, because that's something I find shocking about history. Because why did we go into that war? Why do you think?
Well, the U.S. has so many interests abroad. Well, the main thing, the U.S. wants control over the oil resources in the Middle East.
Yeah.
That's been a major point for U.S. foreign policy for a very long time.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And now take at the time when U.S. went into Iraq, there were two main factors. One, there was Dick Cheney, who was the vice president at the time. He had a lot of investments in these huge, massive oil corporations that had controls in the oil businesses. For him, it would have been very, very beneficial for the U.S. to be able to extract oil from Middle Eastern countries.
Yeah.
And at the time, Iraq was a perfect target. It was very weakened, and then the 9/11 had just happened. The U.S. had an excuse for the global community why they were attacking the Middle East.
Yeah.
Now the global community didn't have much power to tell the U.S. to stop. The global was forced to kind of bend to the U.S. as well. Yeah. And Dick Cheney himself wanted access to more oil to help the companies. He had profits and stocks, and he bought stocks.
Yeah.
And Bush was a puppet. So Dick Cheney controlled what Bush was doing. Really? Bush himself at the time, so Bush's father, Senior Bush, had tried to invade Iraq, if you know, and he failed. He failed. He tried to invade Iraq.
Wait, sorry, could I pause it 1 second?
Go for it.
You could try to talk closer to the mic somehow, or like.
No problem.
Okay, perfect.
Is it closer?
Yeah, definitely. That's perfect.
So here's the thing: Senior Bush, he tried invading Iraq, and Bush Jr., the Bush that we kind of know more about, which is the more recent Bush.
Yeah.
He kind of wanted to take after his father's footsteps, and Dick Cheney used that to his advantage to push Bush to invade Iraq. And what happened after that was that the U.S. then gained control over more and more oil resources. We left that country very recently. We left that entire area somewhat recently, and now we're going back in again for the same reason, to control oil in the Suez Canal.
Yeah, and, I find these patterns like pretty crazy and shocking. How we've sort of been in war for a long time, and they can't really give us a good justification for it anymore. But if you really look back, like since 1945, the end of World War II, we've been in a war for more or less every year in some form. We've had military, because they kept like the Navy and everything in the South Pacific region, like literally just straight after World War II. And then there was the Korean War and Vietnam.
The Cold War essentially in general.
Yeah, the Cold War is fascinating because I don't think we're done with it. Because if you look at what's going on right now, we still are in a proxy war with Russia. And I feel like the news kind of, slid by that in a lot of ways, because we are at it's like, and in our generation, we think about it like, oh no, we're just, I support Ukraine, let me just say that, but I'm also saying like, we're sort of like, oh no, just supporting Ukraine, but if you look at the numbers, it's the same thing with like supporting the Afghanis, like what we did in the 80s versus Russia, and then like different places. You know, we've always been fighting Russia, and it seems like that's a pattern that they don't talk about, but we're still, after all these years since the fucking, we're still like fighting Russia. Like, why do you think that is?
Well, to take it back to when the public considers that the Cold War ended, the public is essentially the fall of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, in like 91 maybe, 92.
Yeah, I think it's late 80s. I'm bad with dates, but it's the late 80s or early 90s. I forget when the Soviet Union fell exactly. But post-Soviet Union, the American public considered that the Cold War ended. Because the space war ended at around the same time. But like you said yourself, we have kind of like a big contest with Russia and now China for a while since the Cold War. I mean, nothing's changed at all. The US still wants oil. It wants control over oil resources.
Yeah.
It wants to ensure that its position in the global economy and the global society itself stays the same.
Yeah.
As the most powerful.
And they're extremely powerful. What would also very, nationalistic and militaristic. So what would your reaction be if they did end up taking the US? Do you think that we would have a hard time assimilating to their culture, or would it go smoothly?
Well, one, I think for all the criticism I do give the US, I think it's impossible to take it just yet. Even China and with a couple of the countries still couldn't take the US. In the history of the US, it exists now, besides Pearl Harbor, there has not been a mainland attack on American soil since Pearl Harbor.
But I want to ask you as a hypothetical.
Hypothetical?
Say they did come,
Say they came and tried to take over China, take over US,
and they succeeded.
Yeah.
What would your reaction be at that point?
My personal reaction? Man, fuck it. I'd go back to India, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck China, dude.
What if they took India as well? India hates China, doesn't it?
Yeah, India does hate China. India and China have a very interesting relationship. I'm not sure if the American public knows about this. Right during COVID, China tried invading Kashmir.
I recall hearing about this.
Yes.
And their militaries are frequently involved in skirmishes along the border.
We have a lot of skirmishes on the border. See, the reason why China wants Kashmir is because Kashmir is our biggest, almost essentially our last line of defense against China. And against China. Yeah. Because Kashmir has a shit ton of mountains, and that gives us a very natural border and a natural point of defense against big, powerful countries like China. China doesn't want that. Yeah. China is very confusing personally to me. I don't understand why they wanted to attack India the way they did, and maybe it was maybe they claimed it was independent groups. I forget. One thing for sure, China is out for blood in the world stage. They have very recently become powerful. They are just about willing to do anything to maintain that power and become more powerful. That's why if a war happens between India and Pakistan, I know who China is going to support. It's going to be Pakistan. China doesn't care about maintaining global peace or global security. China wants to further its position as a powerful nation. Same thing with the US. Same thing with every damn fucking country. They want to further their positions.
Do you think that it's all malicious, or do you think that some of it is trying to further themselves in order to protect against the others? So it's like a constant cycle. Kind of.
Well, I'm not going to say malicious is the right word. Some people within these governments are malicious. They are, naturally. It's a government. They attract malicious people. But I think to the very base, it comes down to two things. One, profits. Every government essentially acts almost like a corporation. They want to increase their profits. They want to increase the amount of money they make. Two, on a
shitty job of it. Think of all the debt we're in now.
The US, yes, we are in debt, but think about the power the US dollar still has.
Yes, you're right.
The global market. Mm-hmm. That's what the US really wants. The debt is, for them, the US, that's just like a price they're willing to pay. Being in debt. But how the US ensures its profit margin step is through the power of the US dollar, the international market.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The US dollar is still the standard currency.
It is.
All over the world. So in that way, the US is still winning. But in that way. But specifically, what I was talking about in terms of each country wants to grow profits. But on a deeper, more individual level, each individual wants to ensure that their genes survive.
Well, that's very interesting. You're right.
No, it is very... So the research has been done, right? Your genes, like your individual genes themselves want to survive.
Like the
You're in,
epigenetic level?
yes, on a biological level, your individual genes want to be passed on, right? Now imagine how that would influence behavior.
Yeah, of course.
Imagine how that would influence behavior even within a simple system as a family.
Why does it seem, if that's the case, why does it seem like so many people are not interested in, pushing their genes forth? Like there's been a trend of people having less and less children, etc. Why, if on a level, on a
Yeah.
genetic level, if they are interested in, procreation, why are people not interested in it? Do you think that it gets confused, that desire, and turns into another desire?
I think what's happening is that we're seeing economic forces overpowering or maybe influencing traditional evolutionary forces.
Really?
Yeah, so what's been happening in developed countries like Japan, like the US, is that in populations that aren't immigrants, you see a decreasing birth rate. You see fewer people having children. Two main factors. One, you have a culture, you have an increasingly overpowering culture that pushes the nuclear family. Two, you have a country where it's harder and harder to maintain a stable family due to economic issues. I mean, house rent prices are going up, the prices of buying a house is going up, all these prices are going up. So raising a kid is now much more expensive than it's ever been in many developed nations.
Yeah.
And like I said, like I mentioned earlier, you have these economic forces overpowering these evolutionary forces. You have people being forced not to have children to protect themselves in the moment, right?
Right.
So what are people?
Yeah, I think I agree with you on some level. I think I don't really understand it, but I think a lot of the stuff you said makes sense, in a lot of ways. I wanted to ask, you're a big. I was gonna make a joke. Okay. I wanted to ask, you talk a lot about AI. Do you believe in AI's potential to solve some of these issues like war and things like that, and economic hardship?
I think so. I think AI might be, in many ways, partially the solution. But here's the problem with AI.
Yeah.
For AI to be a solution the way we think it is, for AI to become the all-powerful intelligence many people are pushing it to be, we forget the implications of the existence of consciousness. Let me put it. So let's take humans for example, right? We are conscious beings, and we are some of the first sentient life to ever exist, as far as we know, in the universe. Supposedly.
I would say that I think all animals and life, like trees, could be sentient.
Could be sentient, but we are the first ones that can talk about ourselves this way.
Yeah.
We're the first hyper intelligent. True.
Yeah, some animals, but I agree with you. But go on.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying we are sentient beings, right?
In this very specific way. We are some of the first hyper intelligent creatures as far as we know,
Yeah, you're right.
On this planet and in the universe, as far as we know.
As far as we know, you're right.
And look what it's done, right? I mean, we've destroyed our planet.
I don't know though.
There's an increasing rise of suicide in more massively developed nations.
Yeah.
I think that consciousness is a burden in many ways. And if we create a hyper intelligent organism like AI, what is going to stop it from killing itself? Why do we assume it's going to be like an all good creature? Why do we not know it's going to be malicious or that it's going to be suicidal? Why do we not?
Yeah, I think you made a lot of points there, and I want to push back on the thing you mentioned regarding we've sort of destroyed the earth and so on.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at it, and you mentioned specifically conscious is a burden in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways to look at this. What you were suggesting sounds sort of like almost an anarcho-primitivist sort of perspective where it's like if we were still on the same level as other animals and not conscious as we think of consciousness, we would have a much better life. You mentioned suicide rates increasing. We probably wouldn't be committing suicide, mental health issues, whatever. But there's two sides to every coin. If you look at any animal, specifically primates, how they operate on a primal basic level, they're very vicious, all throughout the animal kingdom. We're afforded certain safeties and comforts in this modern world that we simply weren't before due to our consciousness, if you'd call it that, or our technological ability. A lot of them, if you look at how chimpanzees operate, they're, viciously ripping the limbs off their rivals, and everyone is their rival. Any male in the tribe or a competing tribe, they'll kill, the male chimpanzee will kill a father and then the mother will start mating with the guy that just killed, the husband, a chimp husband. So my point is that I really would say I think, our consciousness has at this point led to a much more stable, safe, and reasonable kind of lifestyle than we would have had if we were primal creatures.
True, in some ways, but look at us right now, where we just bombed Iran.
Yeah, so there are some extreme
violent
things.
Exactly. I mean, I think human beings, of course, are more moral in some ways, but we're also more evil. A chimpanzee can't slowly torture another person the way human beings can.
Well, they do it in a vicious way,
True.
Probably worse, I would say. So a male chimpanzee, if you encounter an aggressive one, it will intentionally castrate you, intentionally.
It will.
And the animals do that all throughout the animal kingdom. There's this species that's sort of like a deer in South America, which will castrate, its rivals. And I think the animals do things very viciously. The orca whale, for example, the orca whale will viciously kill the babies. Lions killing babies, infanticide is common throughout the animal kingdom. And when you combine that with all the other risks, including sickness, disease, you mentioned the thing about how we're capable of intense evil. And I think you're right about that. The things that we can imagine and concoct as humans, look at World War II. When you combine technology with primal instincts, you get horrible, horrible things.
Yeah.
And so I think there's two sides to the coin, but you are right with your point regarding the change. But I look at it in an optimistic way. I think that we've made certainly quite a bit of progress. Even if you look at recent history, the Middle Ages compared to now, how much better is life for most people?
A whole lot better.
Yeah. And I really think we're making progress and we'll get there. There's still, issues, but we're going to work them out just like we worked out every issue that came beforehand.
No, I don't. I have faith in humanity. I genuinely do. I have faith that we will achieve what we want to achieve.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do have understanding of the viciousness that humanity is capable of.
We are capable of
so much evil. I mean,
incredible evil.
Exactly. Human beings, unless there's another type of species like us out there in the universe, human beings are some of the most powerful forces that exist.
We're powerful. You're right.
In the universe. Let me explain why.
Yeah.
Imagine every single human being on this planet. 8 billion of us were dedicated to one single goal. What could we achieve?
Yes.
It'd be unbelievable. No, I don't think we'd make it. It'd be unbelievable. We could take over our entire solar system, a galaxy.
Yes.
We could.
Yeah, so what's stopping us? What's stopping us from banding together and accomplishing
just us
goals?
Here's the thing.
Individualism, tribalism, what is it?
Tribalism. It's this concept that because we're separated by imaginary lines and borders, we believe we're different. Each one of us, each country is different, but we're human beings. Think about this. If human beings found out that an alien force is coming to exterminate us in 200 years, the things we would accomplish to protect ourselves, every single human being on the planet would be forced to work together. I mean, the things we would achieve, the technology we would develop,
we would break the light speed barrier.
We would do anything.
Yeah.
We would do anything. We can't even imagine the technology we would accomplish in 100 years, 200 years. If we found out that an alien species was coming to invade us, if we were given advance warning, right? The things we would accomplish, we would fortify our solar system at technological levels that our brains, our puny minds can't comprehend.
You're right about that.
Right? Take that. That's the force. That is the potential of humanity. We simply are limited by the other parts of humanity, the negatives of humanity.
Yes, I think you're completely right about that. And I think, but again, there's two sides. So I would say that we're limited in the sense that we are not a hive species. When you look at the animal kingdom, there are hive species such as ants as well as bees are the two biggest examples. And then you have other kinds of, I forget what the term is, but there's another term for a species which is more individualistic. So in the hive, the ant doesn't question why it has to sacrifice itself for the queen. It's just programmed into its epigenetics. So that's just how it will operate. But with humans, we don't feel obligated to perform certain tasks. So the evolutionists will tell you that the reason the hive mind species, they've been the same for hundreds of millions of years. There were hornets and wasps at the time of dinosaurs, and they have not changed one bit since then. So you have to think, like, according to classical evolutionary theory, why would that be that they've simply maintained and been stagnant for all that time? I think that they've reached that point where they're purely focused on survival.
Yeah.
And nothing more, or something else, or maybe there's something else at play, but I'm getting off topic here. What I would say is that with all of these things, you know, the limitations of humans is what you had said. I would say that whatever this is, I would prefer it over being like having an ant mind.
Yeah.
But I think we can, if we choose to be, we can harness it to accomplish huge things. So the point you made about if an alien species came to Earth,
invade us,
that makes me think, like, so if you take a country, like, right, the first one that came to mind when you said that was Israel. They were under intense threat from many countries in their region, and they responded by building a very advanced missile detection and defense system, unlike the world had ever seen. And if you look at our country or other countries, I guess with Israel it's more direct because it's a much smaller population and a much smaller area. But I guess in some way our country too is building all this military technology because of this threat, but proposed threat or whatever. But I think so basically, the topic of tribalism and all this is a heavy topic, but thank you for going down that road because you made a lot of really good points. I wanted to ask you, do you think that being problematic is now a stepping stone to building a brand, or is it a risk not worth taking? Is being problematic a stepping stone to building a brand, or is it a risk not worth taking?
Well, I think it depends on the audience you're trying to attract. It's like anything, man. I mean, if you can be a nonchalant guy, and if you want to fuck girls that want to fuck nonchalant guys. If you want to attract the type of people that want to see a problematic individual, you can build an audience based off that.
I love that.
It's just how it works, right?
Yeah.
What do you want your audience to be? 100%. Do you want your audience Do you want your audience to be the kind of people that want to grow with you? And being a problematic motherfucker is not going to get you the audience. Yeah. Being problematic will get you the motherfuckers that wanna jerk off the dopamine, that want to just watch shit to feel fucking. No, I'm not kidding. It's the motherfucker. Dude, look, people that just want to watch fucked up shit happen. People that just want to watch shit to feel just something, anything at all.
Yeah,
you will attract those people. Those are gonna be your audience.
I like stirring up emotions with my clips. I've been making an effort to, because I think, like, the same way I view music, like when I love a piece of music, it's not because of the lyrics or specific instruments. It's always the feeling that it evokes, like deep down in my bones, that draws me to the music. And the same with content online. So, I've been definitely, pushing people's buttons to an extent and trying to evoke a sort of raw emotion from them. And I love it because my sense of humor is more dry, I think, and I never really saw it represented too much in popular culture, but kind of this sort of humor where it's like very unexpected things. But regardless, I like that point a lot. So since the last couple of videos, obviously you went viral, you've been going viral, you've been getting a lot of attention from our female audience, actually. They want to ask, are you single?
I currently am single, yes.
Nice. And the next biggest question they've been asking, what are you looking for currently in a partner?
Well, the way I view it, and I'm not sure how many Americans view things this way.
Sorry, could I just rephrase that? Just for the context, I'll say woman because the clip will sound... Okay, another question they've been asking, what are you looking for in a woman?
Like I said, I'm not sure if how many Americans will understand this. Maybe immigrants will get a little bit more.
Yeah.
But when you look for somebody and you want to date, what you are eventually planning on doing is putting someone in your family, right? I mean, I have to think of it in terms of how compatible are they with my family?
Yeah.
How compatible is their family with my family, right? I mean, I date to marry eventually. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, why else would I fucking date for? The fuck am I dating to get? If I want to fucking come, I'll just jerk off. I'm dating to marry. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Right. That's just how it is. So
Are you
if
saying
I'm
that
dating,
you haven't ever engaged in an extramarital affair before?
I have, but I think overall they're mistakes. I think at the end of the day, what I should be doing and what I am doing right now is that you find a girl that you eventually think, okay,
Yeah.
maybe I'll marry this girl,
Yeah.
or otherwise you're wasting your time and hers.
Yeah.
How it is. And the woman the quality that I want to see in a girl that I eventually marry is someone that honestly has a good relationship with my mother, my sister, that is funny, that's extroverted, because that's the kind of people my mother and my sister like, and the kind of people I like. And I want to see someone that is open to my past, open to my history. You know, I have an interesting past, right? You know, my family wasn't always this good. There have been interesting things that happened in my family, negative things. And someone that's willing to accept the more darker parts of my history is someone that I'm willing to accept as well. I think that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I really like that. Obviously, you've been getting a lot of attention recently. How seriously do you take DMs when women are hitting you up?
I mean, I think if you're gonna hit me up on a DM, I'm not sure how honest you are about your intentions. I mean,
Yeah.
if we interact in real life and you tell me what you really want, that's different.
Yeah.
I think that's more honest, and that's much more likely to become a fruitful relationship. If you're just texting me on Instagram, I mean, look, I mean, Hinge, Instagram, potato. The point is, maybe you just want to fuck, and I'm not down to do that shit.
Yeah, so you just brought up the point of how sort of social media these days has turned into a dating app almost more than Hinge or Tinder, etc.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
I mean, my opinion on that is the same opinion I have on everything else. It's just that it's a new thing, you know, people and society has structured itself around it. You have an increasing prevalence of hookup culture, and you have a powerful application that is willing to meet that demand amongst the population.
Right.
That's just how it is.
I love
It's evolution, bro.
Yeah,
it's evolution. It's just evolution. Apps evolve for the people. Instagram was initially created to share pictures. Now it's become an app where you can find motherfuckers to fuck. I mean, look, applications evolve for the needs of the population.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. Instagram has evolved for the new needs of a population that increasingly wants to fuck. That is a hookup culture population.
You don't think that people wanted to fuck just as much in the past?
They did, but they went about it differently.
How did they go about it?
Well, one, it was far more, how do you explain it? It was far more taboo. So people did it far more secretly. One. Two, you had a system where people got married pretty early. So you know what? People got married when they were 18, not too long ago. 2-3 generations ago, everyone was getting married when they were 18. So by the time you were fucking horny enough to fuck, you were getting married. You got married, and that's it. You were done. Now people are getting married much later. Why? Because the economic utility of an individual has been delayed. What does that mean? That means that the time it takes for someone to become viable in the market to make money has been delayed. Before, all you needed was a high school education. And even earlier than that, you just needed a physical body to do farm work, to make money. So you could get married far earlier because you could make money earlier. Now you need an undergraduate degree, plus master's sometimes for certain fields to make money. So the marriage age has been delayed. Because how can you support a family without making money? How can you make money in a world where you need an undergraduate degree first? So boom, 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 you have a delay. So now you have people being not married for longer. And now you have applications in the modern world that keep up with this demand. Because people are still horny, man. Just because they're not married doesn't mean they're not fucking horny. So now you have an application, these applications like Instagram, Hinge have evolved to meet this demand. This lack of people getting married. And boom, 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 boom.
That's very interesting.
Goes like that.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point. Yeah, I really like how you explained that, and I think a lot of people will resonate with that too, you know, especially given everything that's been happening in our culture recently. So when you were saying all of that just now, Lava, it made me think, wow, Lava, you are hyper aware. You are aware of how the things are operating on a level which is sort of a new phenomenon which is occurring in our society. Young people being hyper aware to sort of the logistics of how things operate on a societal level. And it's something we've never seen before in the history of humanity because the access to information just wasn't as accessible back in the day. But now we're caught up to date in a way like no generation has ever been. We're listening to podcasts with the most influential people in the world speaking and giving their
Like
time
you,
and
man,
thoughts.
like you.
Of course, yeah, I appreciate that, Lava. And we're really just exposed to so much more. Information is much more accessible to us. We have AI now, obviously, which has taken our learning to a whole new level. And I think this is something we should be proud of as a generation, because when you look at sort of the millennial generation next to Gen Z, it's like day and night, I would say. Wouldn't you
I
agree?
agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though. I think all that AI has done, what previous technologies have done, is just like if you're dumb, there's no AI that can help you. If you're not willing to learn and willing to see the world for where it is, there's no advanced technology on this planet in the future, in the past, in all of time that can help.
Yeah,
The
that brings
only
us to
people,
balance.
exactly,
Everything
the
is
only
balance.
people that can be helped are people that are willing to learn in the past, now, and the future. An open mind is the only mind that can advance. That's just how it is.
100%. And I
So,
really love that, because that's just, I would say I completely agree with that point. And to everyone out there who is feeling nervous about all of this technological change, and, because it can be a scary thing when you're hearing that potentially your line of work might be obsolete in the future. Here's my message to all of you. What I would say is exactly what Lava just said. The balance of the universe will never be disrupted. Equilibrium is the most important constant which exists in our universe. So it's played out on every stage. So the stage of good versus evil, the evil will never overcome the good. All you will need is an open mind, an open heart, and a positive attitude. And no matter what happens in the world, anything could happen, but you will be okay. And your emotions will not be disrupted by outside events, by fear mongering, by whatever it is. You will be fine if you keep an open mind. You're open to new things, open to change, not being married to how things are today, because trust me, things are going to change very quickly.
yeah.
There's been a lot of talk about various forms of cancer finally being cured, such as breast cancer, for example. And I think this is an advantage of AI and the new age quantum computing, which is really leading us in fascinating directions. So I anticipate actually that in the next 10 years, 5 to 10 years, we will cure almost all sorts of cancer and, a whole plethora of other diseases, as well as achieve transformational leaps, in the fields such as transportation or space exploration or agriculture.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, there will be no more world hunger, no more fighting. There will only be peace, positivity, and everyone will win. It will be a win-win-win times 8 billion. So it's like, we're all going to win together. Just keep an open mind, everyone. Be happy about it, and it will work. And I'm sorry to just drone on and on and off. I know you're a very busy man.
It's a positive message.
Yeah, and I know you're a very busy man, Lava, but I wanted to, touch off, or I know you're a very busy man, Lava, but I wanted to finish the pod with a message of hope to the audience out there. What's your message to everyone out there struggling right now, dealing with anxiety, depression, maybe financial problems, health issues, whatever it is? What's your message to people out there who are struggling?
My message to people is that I mean it's easy for me to say because I have an amazing life. But it's hard for me. I mean, how fair is it for me to tell people that have faith, have hope, when I myself have such a beautiful life to live?
I think it's a positive message for anyone.
That's all I can say. What can I say? Have faith. I mean, what else can I say? The world goes up and down. It goes left and right sometimes. I mean, we see the U.S. bombing Iran's fucking nuclear sites. We have maybe a World War III looming. But here's the thing: I genuinely, in the bottom of my heart, in the depths of the cavern of my soul, have faith that humanity will make it out of any single thing imaginable. It's true, and I have faith in my soul. I have faith that's very deep within me. Maybe inculcated by my upbringing, by my mother, who is an amazing woman, who's taught me to have faith in the world. I have faith. That's all I can say. I personally have faith in the world.
Yeah.
And I have faith in humanity, the soul of humanity itself. And I encourage everybody to have faith as well. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and I really am a big believer in that because I think, you know, regardless of how bad things get, having faith will only make things better. Just
Yes.
being, you know, having faith, it can't hurt. Being optimistic can't hurt. It can only make things better. And, you know, I think that's a great way to end the pod, Lava. And again, I really appreciate you coming on today. You talked about a lot of really fantastic and, you know, inspiring sorts of things. And we got really deep into various
100%.
conversations.
100%.
But anyway, thank you so much. I'm going to end the pod in 3, 2, 1.